mouse is here. Let's see. Let's fucking go. Oh, okay. When I first picked it up, it honestly felt like I wasn't picking up anything, like at all. Like at fucking all. This house is crazy. The coating's nice. I don't think it's a coating that you can use. I mean, personally for me, I'm not going to be able to use without, like the mouse, I'm not going to be able to use without grip tape. The coating is not grippy at all. It's just very smooth. I didn't own the Sora V1, so like I can't really compare it to the first Sora, unfortunately. If I do find the Sora V1 in pink, the 4K version, I'm definitely copying, but yeah, this feels like I'm picking up nothing. Claw. And then when I like static click, it kind of goes more into fingertip. So, I mean, it's either those two for me, which feels very great on this mouse. Um, Let me remind myself to get off manual focus. I don't know if I can change this. Holy shit. This right here is so clean. The back side button feels very bad compared to the top one, the first. So the back front, I guess, for a second. Or if you want to call the M4 and M5, do that too. But yeah, that feels terrible compared to. I mean, in general, they aren't the best side buttons. I don't think so, honestly. I kind of expected that because the shell's so light, but like, can I get that? So I guess I'm going to compare it to any mouse. I need to turn my ISO up. What is happening? can even hear it. I like how like tactile feeling that is. You can feel like the feedback in the click compared to the Sora. It's like, yeah, you can hear it. It's very tactile, but there's like the feedback and like response when you click it. It feels like there's nothing there. Okay, so they do give you another set of skates, which I'm just gonna keep for the time being, and you can't see them. These aren't too bad for like stock default OEM fucking PTFE dyed super bleach white like veneer slash yeah, these are like very like these are like veneer white skates like holy shit, these are very bright. That's insane. I don't have any more white skates. But yeah, not the biggest fan of them. I mean, they'll work for sure. I can't wait till I get my BTL skates on Monday. Throw those on. Alright, so this is a quick comparison of the Sora V2 against 3 other mice I have in front of me. One being the OP1 RGB Dark Frost, the X2H Mini from Pulsar, and the the Last Legend Final Mouse. I was gonna say something, but hey, free thinking, right? Anyways, so I'm comparing the Sora V2 to these 3 mice just because these are the 3 mice I'm most familiar with as of right now. I find all 4 of these have a few things in similarities, but I'm gonna individually compare them to the Sora V2. So starting with the Last Legend Final Mouse, you can see that, before I forget to mention, that I do have a infinity hump on this medium size Last Legend. So take that into consideration. But let me see if we can move this guy up just a tad bit. So even with the infinity hump, you can kind of notice that the hump on the Sora V2 is a tad bit more aggressive, or the butt, if you want to call it, whatever you call that part. I call it the hump. But yeah, I was taken by surprise that the Sora V2 was still slightly more aggressive compared to the infinity hump on the Last Legend. If you go towards the top of the click shells, you notice they kind of have similarities in grooves. Let me see if I can flip this around. It'll probably be a little hard to see with my grip tape on, but I would say the Final Mouse does have a more drastic groove. It's a little deeper or a little more shallow, I guess you want to say. Whatever I'm trying to get across, you know what I mean. But you will notice that the grooves, the M1 and M2 click shells on the Final Mouse are a little more distinguished compared to the Sora V2s. But I think the slight indentation on the V2 is honestly very subtle and very nice. It's not too drastic. It's honestly, in my opinion, just right. Next, I'm gonna compare it to the X2H Mini, which kind of gives me the same vibes, although it is, compared to the Sora V2, it is going to be shorter as well as more narrow and not as long. But where it does have similarities is the hump again. So whereas the Last Legend wasn't as aggressive, the X2H Mini The H is for the hump, obviously. The X2H Mini does have a more aggressive hump. Most definitely. I can feel it in my palm when I knuckle grip a lot sooner than I can the Sora V2. Um, if I were to compare it to something like my X2 Bruce Lee, I forgot I had this guy over here. You'll notice that the X2 is a lot larger. This is the X2 Bruce Lee edition in medium. This guy is a lot larger in length, but again, the V2 from Sora, or sorry, but again, the V2 by Ninjutsu, is definitely more aggressive in the hump area. The last mouse I'm going to compare it to is going to be the OP1. Let me see. Chord issues. Okay, I guess this is as far as we're gonna pull it. So the OP1, we'll rotate it this way. So keep in mind the OP1 RGB Dark Frost and the OP1 8K wired are the same exact shell, just different internals. So if you do have either or, keep that in mind. So the only difference I noticed between these two is that I believe on the OP1 wired Dark Frost Edition, the sidewalls are a lot more narrow compared to the Sora V2. So if I can flip it around, you can actually notice from the base of each of the mice. So you notice that the butt of each mice kind of flare in the same way. But as you gradually go upward, you notice on the Sora V2, you still keep a little width here. Whereas on the OP1 wired, it's a lot more narrow. It stays narrow. It flexes out just a tad bit at the bottom of the click shells. And that's where it remains towards the top. Whereas the Ninjutsu Sora V2, you notice that it is a lot wider at the butt. Although it is wider, the aggressive hump on the OP1 is a lot more noticeable. But as we go to the midway section of the mice on the V2, you notice that it does narrow in just a tad bit, not too much. And that's where the finger grooves on the side really, wow, voice crack, embarrassing. And that's where the finger grooves on the side come in. And that's what I enjoy the most on this mouse, as well as the OP1. I like the OP1 for a very nice aggressive claw grip. But I enjoy the Sora V2 just a little bit more because it kind of feels like an extension of my body. Alright, so Ninjutsu claims that this mouse is roughly 39 to 40 grams, I believe. So we're going to test that and throw it on the scale. I do have BTL dot skates, so take that for consideration as well. Don't forget your skates add weight. But if you look at that, it is a whopping 40 fucking grams. Look at the light shining on it like it's from God himself. No holes. So once you connect to your mouse, it'll bring you to the dashboard. On the left hand side, you notice 6 different icons. These 6 different icons are the following. You have customization, performance, macros, language, firmware, and about. So the only 3 that I'm going to briefly mention are the first 3, obviously The first one is going to be, again, customization. You can customize the binds on your mouse. You can even add keyboard binds, copy and paste all these binds, and make macros. Next would be your performance tab. Here we have your different DPI stages. Your pulling rate, which of course we only have 1,000 right now. Motion sync, your liftoff distance, and something they call competitive mode. Also hyperspeed, or high speed, sorry. But I keep it on competitive mode. When you do turn that on, sometimes the motion sync does turn off. You can just go ahead and turn that back on. But that's about it for the software. Now, what does this mean, you might ask? Well, it means that Ninjutso was able to do what a lot of other mouse companies weren't. As technology is always transcending and new innovations are bound to emerge, only a select few companies have been able to incorporate such technological strides into their products. Whether it's the best sensor, the best shape, good clicks, the best clicks, lightest mouse, the fastest mouse. They're all competing against each other, but it seems like Ninjutsu is the first to actually get it done. The Sora V2 has allowed me to lock in ways I've always envisioned.
Yeah.
I have seamlessly been flicking left to right, 360, 180, fluid tracking, target switching. Like I've said it before and I'll say it again, this mouse truly feels like an extension of my vessel when I play. An unforgettable feeling and experience I believe every FPS gamer should most definitely experience. Well, we have gotten to that part of the video. As I partake in my outro, I want to reiterate that I did in fact buy this mouse myself, so that my opinions and ideas are not influenced by Ninjutsu in any shape, way, or form, or strictly the result of my time and experience spent with the Sora V2. I plan on dropping more content on this mouse as I only have about 30 hours on it. Do plan on dropping more content with this guy once the 8K pulling rate is live. Hopefully get my hands on a few more 4K hertz mice to compare this to. But until then, I'm Grim, and this was the Sora V2. Thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoyed. Peace.